Now we're going to discuss the origin of bedigas chametz, searching for chametz, and maybe at the end we'll discuss how this is very significant, in addition to just searching for chametz. In the Torah, in Exodus chapter 12, Exodus chapter 12, verse number 19. So Exodus 12:19. If you have a chumash, you can open the chumash and look inside. The Torah says as follows. 12:19, and this chumash that we're using here, it's on page number 412. Shivas yomim, for 7 days. Se'oir lo yimotze bivotechem, leaven shall not be found in your house. Simple law, for 7 days, this is referring to the days of Pesach, leaven shall not be found in your house. If you turn now to Exodus chapter 13, verse 7, in the chumash we're using here, it's on page 420. The Torah over there in chapter 13, verse 7, teaches us, Matzois ye'ochel eis shivas hayam. Matzos shall be eaten during the 7 days. V'lo ye'ro'a lecha chametz, and you shall not see, or chametz shall not be seen that belongs to you. V'lo ye'ro'a lecha se'oir b'chol gvulecha. No leaven that belongs to you shall be seen throughout your borders. So in chapter 12, the Torah says, the words lo yimotze se'or lo yimotze bivotechem, chametz shall not be found. And in chapter 13, the Torah introduces us to a new mitzvah, a new commandment, which is lo yero'eh lecha, it shall not be seen in your possession. These two verses, each one is an individual prohibition of the 8 mitzvahs that are particular, biblical mitzvahs that are particular to the day of Pesach, the days of Pesach, and commonly referred to as Bal Yero'eh and Bal Yemotze. Shall not be seen and shall not be found. If you have chametz in your home on Pesach, your own chametz that you own in your house on Pesach, even if you don't eat it, you're nevertheless transgressing 2 biblical prohibitions. Lo yero'eh lecha and se'or lo yimotze bivotech. Shall not be found, it shall not be seen. Not be able to be found, not be able to be seen. 2 separate biblical mitzvahs. When do these mitzvahs start? When do these prohibitions begin? These prohibitions only begin on Pesach evening, the night of the 15th day of Nisan. Leil HaSeder, what we would call it. The night of Pesach. From that moment on, from sunset on the 14th day sunset, then you have 7 days biblically of not having any chametz in your home, period. There's no exemptions to this rule. You can't have chametz in your property or in someone else's property that belongs to you. You can hide it somewhere. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help. Before the nighttime, before Pesach begins, before Pesach actually begins, we don't have a biblical prohibition on chametz, but we do have something else, and that is a positive mitzvah, an active mitzvah, a mitzvah that necessitates action. And where is that mitzvah found? That mitzvah is found in Exodus 12:15. And this is Chumash page 412. Over there in Exodus chapter 12, verse 15, the Torah says, Shivas yomim matzos techelu, for 7 days you shall eat matzos. Ach, however, Bayoim harishon on the first day, tashbisu sa'oir mibotechem, you shall eliminate all leaven, or you shall destroy all leaven from your houses. This mitzvah is called tashbisu, the mitzvah of destruction, to destroy and eliminate chametz. What does the Torah say? When does this mitzvah begin? The Torah says, Bayom Harishon, on the first day. However, our rabbis learn that this Bayom Harishon, on the first day, doesn't mean the first day of Pesach. It actually means the day that precedes Pesach. Bayom Harishon, on the day before Pesach begins, you are obligated to destroy the chametz. And they bring a proof for this. They have a proof for this. How do we know this for a fact? Because the Torah tells us elsewhere, Exodus chapter 34. We're flipping around the Torah today. We see how many times over here the laws of Pesach are mentioned in the Torah, many. Chapter 34, verse 25. The Torah over there says, it's a page 580 in this Chumash. The Torah over there says as follows: Lo sishchat al chometz dam zivchi. While chometz is in your possession, you should not slaughter or sprinkle the blood of my Passover offering. Which means that when the Korban Pesach, when the Pesach offering is to be brought, what are you not allowed to have? What must have been already gotten rid of? Chametz. When is the Korban Pesach? When do we offer the Korban Pesach? When do we bring the Paschal lamb in the Beis HaMikdash? Not on Pesach, because the night of Pesach we're already supposed to be eating it. We bring it in the afternoon, a few hours before Pesach begins. You have to go to the Beis HaMikdash and bring a Korban Pesach. So we see clearly from here that the Torah learns that there is a mitzvah to destroy the chametz before Pesach begins. When does that mitzvah kick in? That mitzvah kicks in when the time to offer the Korban Pesach starts. From Chatzois Hayom, from midday. So from midday on what we call Erev Pesach, although you are permitted, you're not permitted, although you don't transgress a negative prohibition times 2 of Bal Yiro and Bal Yimotza, nevertheless, you do have a positive action to be done, a mitzvah the Torah gives you: destroy your chametz. If you have chametz, you have a mitzvah to get rid of it now. Again, this mitzvah is called tashbisu, the mitzvah of destruction, the mitzvah to destroy the chametz.
Just what means to break, right?
Tashbis means to destroy, to eliminate. Now the question becomes, what is the definition of destruction of chametz? So over here our rabbis tell us that the definition means that you have to bring it to a point that no one in the world can possibly derive any benefit from it. That's the definition of destruction. However, if one wants to, what's called bitul, to nullify the chametz, or if one wants to, what's called hefker, to say, I don't own it anymore, it's ownerless, anyone who wants can come and take it, so it doesn't belong to me anymore. It's not mine anymore. I give up my ownership rights to this chametz. It doesn't help you, as we'll see in a moment. So therefore, the classic definition of destroying chametz is to burn it. No one can derive benefits from it. Or make it into little crumbs and you throw it in the ocean. Again, no one can derive benefits from it. Today, modern days, they have with chemicals and things. So if you put your chametz in a mikvah of bleach, no one can have any benefit from that either today. Or if you decide to pour gasoline on top of it without lighting the gas on fire, no one can have any pleasure from that chametz as well. So these are different ways of tashbisu. But the point is, we have a mitzvah to get rid of. Now, when does this rule apply? That one cannot be mevatel, nullify, or say that his chametz doesn't own to him apply. That only applies the moment the chametz becomes forbidden to me. When the chametz is forbidden to me, I now can no longer say that the chametz is no longer mine. However, before the chametz was forbidden to me, which means before midday of the 14th day of Nisan, before midday, 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, breakfast, 7:30, I want to have a coffee and a muffin, right? And there's leftovers to the muffin now. I'm allowed to have it in my house. I'm allowed to still eat it. I'm allowed to own it. It's not midday yet. No mitzvah to destroy it. At that moment, I could say that this is no longer mine. I don't know. It's ownerless. Anyone who wants could come and take it. It's hefker. I have no rights anymore to this chametz, and that would be perfectly fine. You only lose your rights to making something hefker when that thing is forbidden to you. So when does the chametz become forbidden totally to us? We only know that it becomes forbidden to us. We have to destroy it. It means you can't eat it from midday on the 14th day. However, our rabbis learned that this actually becomes asur behanoah, asur to have any pleasure from it as well. Why did they say this? Because the Torah uses the word, an interesting word. It's a very interesting word that the Torah uses to say that you shouldn't eat chametz. And that is Exodus chapter 13, verse 3. The Torah says, "Vayomer Moshe ala'am." Moses told the nation, "Remember this day that we left Mitzrayim. Because with a strong hand, God took you out of here. Leaven should not be eaten. It doesn't say lo yochal, don't eat leaven. It says lo ye'ochel chometz. Leaven should not be eaten. And we learn from here the fact that the Torah already told us in other places. You saw already today We've crisscrossed the book of Exodus, and there's also in the book of Deuteronomy more. The Torah already tells us a number of places that you cannot eat chametz. Here the Torah uses the word, it shall not be eaten. We learn from here a new law. That is, that it can't ever be in a state that it will ever be led to being eaten, which is the state of pleasure. If you derive pleasure from chametz, that's what leads you to eat chametz. So you cannot even be in a position that you can have any pleasure from chametz. There's a new prohibition. It's called the prohibition of deriving pleasure from chametz. Not only on Pesach are you not allowed to eat chametz, you cannot even have pleasure from chametz, which means, a classic example is you can't sell chametz on Pesach, right? You can't own chametz and sell it. I'm not eating it, doesn't matter. Because on Pesach, chametz is osur b'hano'ah. When does that set in? So rabbis say that starts already from midday on the 14th. Midday on the 14th. If that's the case, if I can't have any pleasure from it, it means I can't do anything with it. I can't even make it ownerless. The only way I can make it ownerless, the only way I can make something ownerless is if I can still have pleasure from it. I still own it. I still have some connection to it. Now you can make it ownerless. So therefore, biblically speaking, if one wants to fulfill the obligation of not owning chametz on Pesach, what is the simple solution to this? The simple solution is, before chametz becomes forbidden to you, before you have a mitzvah to destroy the chametz, be mevatel it, nullify it, or make it hefker. Say it's ownerless. I don't own it anymore. It's not mine. Anyone who wants can have this. It means nothing to me. And then biblically, the chametz doesn't belong to me. I said it was ownerless before it was forbidden. I said it was ownerless before I had a mitzvah to get rid of it. I said it was ownerless while I still had permission to derive benefit from it. Now comes Pesach. You only are connected with chametz. You could only transgress. You're only liable for chametz that belongs to you. The Torah says your chametz can't be seen. Your chametz cannot be found. But someone else's chametz could be. I'm not liable if I don't give my friend permission to put his chametz in my house. Someone comes and throws a bagel into my house. It's not my bagel. I'm not liable for that bagel. I didn't give him permission to put it here on Pesach. So it's ownerless. This is ownerless, not mine. No connection to me. So therefore, you are exempt from all problems according to the Torah by doing this, by making this happen. However, nothing can be so simple. Rabbis came along and a rabbi said that rendering chametz ownerless is worthless. It doesn't help. We cannot accept someone to say chametz is ownerless before Pesach. Why not? So therefore, what must you do? Let's go to why not first. Why can't we say that a person is allowed to render his chametz ownerless? So our rabbis gave two reasons for this, two primary reasons for this. And they are as follows. Number one, the main reason is because saying something is ownerless, in order for it to have an effect, has to be something that you really mean. It's something, what's called in the words of the Gemara and the words of the Chachamim, it's something which is toloi belev sholem. It's dependent on a complete heart. You have to really mean that it's ownerless. If you have a bottle of scotch in your house and you say, this bottle of scotch is ownerless, but it's an expensive bottle, do you really mean to say that it's ownerless? If somebody walks in right now, you won't even flinch for a moment because you think that it has no connection to me whatsoever. Can we be so honest and say that we really meant it all the way to that extreme? Well, we have to be, because even if there is a slightest percentage of connection that I still feel with that object, with that chametz, then rendering it ownerless wasn't sincere. If it wasn't sincere, then it's a futile exercise. It only works based on truth. It's something which is completely dependent on the person saying it, on the person doing it. And not everybody is equal. Some people will mean it more, some people will mean it less, some people really say it, some people just say it because they say the words that they're told to say. So Rabbi said we cannot rely on such a thing. We fear that it's not even the majority, but in practically speaking, go find someone that can really say that all the chametz or any chametz is completely onerous. I don't care anything about it. Very difficult to say such a thing. That's reason number one. Reason number two, they said, is as follows. Suppose, let's say, you have the chametz in your home, and you said it was hefker. You said it's ownerless. Fine, and we accepted that. We have a problem now. The problem is you're going to wake up tomorrow morning, and because every morning you're so used to having your toast and eggs, so not because you mean to eat chametz on Pesach, but just because of nature, because of habit, you're going to wake up and do your routine, your regular routine. And your regular routine is you wake up and in the morning you have your toast. And because chametz is something that 340 days of the year, 341 days of the Jewish calendar year, it's permitted to eat. Well, take out Yom Kippur. So 340 days, you're permitted to eat chametz. So it's something that's so natural to you. It's not something you do once a week or a holiday. It's not a seasonal item. This is life. Life is chametz. So to tell someone now, the next morning, tonight I'm saying I don't own the chametz anymore, but it's still sitting on my shelf, and I'm allowed to have it on my shelf. Why? Because the Torah says if it doesn't belong to you, you're permitted to have it in your home. Now, it's going to be sitting in your kitchen. You're going to wake up, or you're going to go before you go to bed. You're going to have your midnight snack. You're going to pull out the Oreos and then have your Oreo cookie because that's what you do every night. This will be a big problem. So because of this problem, a rabbi said you can't allow for a person just to keep chametz and say, I don't own it anymore. Can't work that way. So again, two reasons. Number one is it's something which is dependent on the person really being sincere, and that is very unlikely. There's a big spectrum over here between how sincere people are when it comes to getting rid of their chametz. And secondly, is because it's something which is so common that we're afraid you're going to make the mistake. We're too afraid you're going to make the mistake. So therefore, what must you do? A rabbi said you must search for the chametz and get rid of the chametz. This is what's called bedikas chametz. One has to search for the chametz. We don't allow for chametz to be in the home, period. You cannot have any chametz in your house. Because chametz that you said that doesn't belong to you, it does belong to you. We're going to assume that you didn't really mean it. Your nice, expensive chametz and the things you really like, you didn't really get rid of. You can't have it that way. So you have to search for the chametz b'dikas chametz. So when should the search of chametz theoretically, based on this, when should the search of chametz be done? The search of the chametz should be done a little bit before chametz becomes forbidden. So chametz becomes forbidden on the 14th day at midday. So the search should be done a couple hours before that. That would be an appropriate time to search for the chametz. However, a rabbi said 11 o'clock in the morning, 10:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, where are people? Are people at home, or most people are out into work? Either they're going to work or they're in the marketplace. People are not home. You can't tell people to search your home at 10 o'clock if they're not going to be home. That's not a normal time when people are home. So that wouldn't be an appropriate time to tell people to search for the chametz. And then we have, so when would you tell them to search for the chametz? Now, you tell people to search for the chametz when they get home, the night before. When they get home, many times it's still light outside. The next day it's also light, but it's still light. So our rabbi said, searching for the chametz is done best by the light of candle. If you want to really search for the chametz, the contrast between darkness, taking the light of a candle in a space of darkness, is the best way to search for chametz. So therefore, we search for the chametz the night before Pesach with a candle. And we have to search everywhere in the home, wherever we bring chametz throughout the year. That's where you have to search for chametz. Anywhere you don't bring chametz throughout the year, if it's not a place you ever brought chametz, then you don't have to search for chametz. There's no reason to suspect that chametz is there. This is the general appreciation for what's called bedikas chametz, the search for the chametz. Because our rabbis were so concerned about the search for the chametz being done the correct way, they even went as far as to say that from a half hour or so before nighttime, one is forbidden from engaging in any activity that would delay their search for the chametz. Even studying Torah. You can't sit down and start studying Torah. Why? It's very simple. Because you're going to like what you're studying. So the study of Torah makes you happy. You can't get enough of it. And before you know it, you can open up the Chumash, you can open up the Tanya, you can open up the Gemara, you can open up the Mishnayos, and before you know it, it's going to be 11 o'clock at night, you're going to be tired, you're going to fall asleep, and you forget to do B'dika. You forget to do the search. So because of this concern, our rabbi said, don't do anything. You got to do the search, prepare yourself to do the search, right at the appropriate time. Nightfall, you do it. There's discussion. If you have someone to remind you the right time, if you can start studying and someone will remind you. If there's a minyan for Ma'ariv, a daily minyan for Ma'ariv that you attend in a shul, so you have a Ma'ariv maybe with a minyan before, and that's okay. As soon as you get home from the minyan, you daven. But those are exceptions. The rule, the general rule is we don't do anything that will disturb us from or delay us from start searching for the chametz right away. This is a mitzvah to search for the chametz. The mitzvah midrabanan. It's a mitzvah of the rabbis. Again, according to the Torah, you'll not find anywhere in the Torah that says search for chametz. Because according to the Torah, all you have to do is all you have to do is render the chametz ownerless. You have to make sure I don't own any chametz. I don't own any chametz by saying I don't own any chametz and mean it. Problem is we don't mean it. That's why we have. That's how we entered into this whole discussion. 1 second, world of it.
If you disown it,
yeah,
then never mind going in and eating it. What if you see it?
It's not yours. You can see someone else's chametz. You're permitted to see someone else's chametz. For example, a non-Jew, if you're going to a non-Jew is permitted to have a worker coming into your house. He's allowed to walk into your house in theory with his lunch in your house and eat his lunch in your house. Not your chametz, your house. It's not your chametz, it's his. Likewise, you can be in a non-Jew's house on Pesach, and he has chametz there. Not a problem. You're allowed to see. There's no prohibition of seeing chametz. So your own chametz that's out there besides yours is not your problem. If there's another Jew, if it's another Jew, you run on the problem of arvus, of all Jews are responsible one for another. That isn't that yes. So on this mitzvah d'Rabbanan, we make a blessing. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu al biur chametz. The mitzvah is to destroy the chametz. But what are we about to do? We're not destroying the chametz. Now, what are we doing? We're searching for the chametz. So why are we making a blessing to destroy chametz? The blessing should be who commanded us to search for the chametz, not to destroy the chametz. It seems like the wrong bracha to say. And the answer to this is twofold. Number one, right after we search for the chametz, we actually do disown the chametz. We say any chametz that I did not find in my search is owned. I don't own. And now that makes perfect sense because I search for everything that I know about. That which I don't know about, you can sincerely disown. It's only the things that you know about that you're attached to that we're afraid maybe you're not going to be fully sincere about it. But that, I got rid of everything. I searched, I didn't find it. So that we're not afraid of. That we're not afraid of. But it's possible that you didn't miss something. You did miss whatever it was. No one is perfect in life. So even in my search, it's possible that I left some place out. I didn't find it, I didn't see it. So for that, we do bitul right after the bedika, right after the search. We do the bitul. We render everything ownerless. I don't own it. It's hefker. What's called hefker ka'afradar. It's like dust. It's meaningless to me. It has no value to me whatsoever. That's number one. Number two is, suppose you searched for the chametz and you found chametz in your house. And what do you do with that chametz now? Well, now that chametz you have to destroy. Well, suppose you didn't destroy the chametz. Suppose you didn't destroy the chametz that you found in the search. Was that search meaningful? Did that search have any point to it? It was a pointless waste of time. If you searched for the chametz, but you didn't destroy the chametz that you found, that's a complete waste of time. The whole purpose of the search is to find it and then destroy it. So the end game is we're looking to destroy chametz. We're not looking to find chametz. We're not looking to search for chametz. We're looking to destroy the chametz. The only way to destroy it is if you find it. The only way to find it is if you search for it. That's why we search for the chametz. We search for it to find it, which will then lead us to destroy it. So the bracha that we make is al bir chametz, the end game. I'm about to begin a process. The mitzvah that I'm going to do is to destroy chametz that I find that I'm about to search for. So the bracha is, what's the purpose of this whole exercise now? We don't want it to be a wasted exercise. The bracha is telling us what this really is all about. It's all about searching for chametz, that any chametz that I find, I will then go and destroy in the appropriate time before the prohibition kicks in. The next day. So that's the next day. Which then we have a question. And that is, why don't we make a blessing of shehechiyanu, v'kiyamanu, v'giyanu, lizman hazeh when we do the search for the chametz? Shehechiyanu, v'kiyamanu, v'giyanu, lizman hazeh is a blessing we make anytime we have a mitzvah that comes from time to time. It's not around all the time. It's only a unique mitzvah that comes around. So we thank Hashem for giving us life and sustaining us, for reaching this point on the calendar. We've once again made it to this date to be able to fulfill this mitzvah. So if we're making a mitzvah, bracha, baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu, who sanctified us and gave us the mitzvah of destroying the chametz. So now we should make a bracha, shehechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lizman hazeh. Why don't we make the bracha shehechiyanu? And the answer is because this mitzvah of searching and destroying the chametz is only a mitzvah that's there to prepare us for the holiday of Pesach. So therefore, it becomes included in the blessing of Shehechiyanu that we make on the holiday of Pesach. Because this is all a lead up to Pesach. This is to get me to Pesach. Pesach, I'm going to make a Shehechiyanu. That blessing of Shehechiyanu includes everything that had to do with me getting to this point as well, which was the searching and the destroying of the chametz. That's why we don't make a bracha of shehechiyanu independently for the search, because it is included in the shehechiyanu that we make for the holiday of Pesach that we make by the kiddush, the men or the women when they light the candles, or men who light candles at home do it on the candles as well. So this is a quick overview on the background of searching for the chametz. There is a custom to put around the house before the search, put around the house pieces of chametz. Because practically speaking, you have to understand this. Talking about the night before Pesach. So practically speaking, you basically rid your house of chametz already. If you still have chametz floating around your house in all the rooms on Erev Pesach, you're going to be in big trouble. So yeah, practically speaking, you already rid your house of chametz. So you may not even find any chametz when you search. So the minhag is that some people have a custom to put out chametz. So you have to be careful to make sure that it's hard, that it's wrapped well, doesn't make crumbs around the house. That's number one. Number two is you have to make sure that you know exactly the location to put. You have a big problem. If you put out 10 pieces and you only found 9, you have a very, very big problem, a halachic problem over here. You got to write everything down. And number 3 is you should know that it's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's a custom, and pretty much today everyone does it. But nevertheless, it's not something which is necessary to do in order to search for the chametz. Even if you've cleaned the house for Pesach completely, and there's what you believe no chametz in the house, and you search for the chametz with the bracha, and you did not find any chametz, it was a perfectly good bracha that you made and a perfectly good mitzvah that you did. You don't need to find chametz in order to make the mitzvah more legitimate. It's about searching for the chametz, not only finding the chametz. There's a mitzvah to search for the chametz. Nevertheless, according to Kabbalah, this custom is already widespread. And as we say, minhag Yisrael, Torah, a custom of the Jewish people, already becomes like Torah itself. And everyone today pretty much puts out these 10 pieces. And it became something, if there's children around, it became something of excitement for the children to be able to hide it, and for the searchers to be able to find it. And anyone who grew up in a home like this, searching for the chametz, you understand the excitement that goes into getting the pieces and putting them out and writing them down and finding it or not finding it, etc., etc., etc. One has to be careful with this, like I said, because of these reasons. Now, a quick word on chametz. We discussed many times the idea that chametz, Chassidus explains, is the concept of yeshus, of arrogance, of haughtiness, as opposed to matzah, which is flat, which is forbidden to rise. Chametz rises, goes up. Inflation of oneself, inflating one's own ego, whereas matzah is a deflated bread, or a bread that never even had a chance to become inflated. And on Pesach, we only eat matzah. On Pesach, we are ingesting. We're living off of this idea, the sentiment of bitul, of self-nullification, self-effacement, where we're not so important. We're ready to be, as part of Bnei Yisrael, part of a big nation, Hashem's chosen people. We're ready to submit ourselves before Almighty God. And it's from the holiday of Pesach that we take strength for this fundamental characteristic trait for the entire year. In order to reach this point, and the spiritual side of it, and the spiritual significance of matzah versus chametz, a rabbi said it doesn't just come automatic. You have to search and get rid of the chametz that exists within you. You can't be walking around as a haughty, arrogant, condescending individual and expect that it's going to come Pesach, you're going to eat some matzah and life is going to change for you. Before Pesach begins, while chametz is still permitted for you, you have to search within yourself, in all the cracks and crevices of your own internal psyche and being. Search for the chametz, find the chametz, and destroy the chametz. So that when the moment comes where now we're obligated to no longer eat chametz, but we have to destroy any chametz that is in our possession. and now we are obligated to eat matzah only, then we can properly be proper containers to receive that godly energy of Pesach, which is the energy of Bittul, that energy of self-effacement to keep us going for the entire year. All right, anyone have any questions?